friends, welcome to Pyramid Knits. My name is Liz. I am a knitter and a natural dyer based outside of Taos, New Mexico. I am coming to you from my dining room. It is a very gloomy day here today. It is starting to sleet. It just hailed a little bit ago. Hopefully we'll get some snow tonight, fingers crossed. Because there is a ski resort here that is supposed to open in 4 days and there's no snow on the ground, so pray for snow. Yeah, I just thought I would pop in and catch up with you guys with what I have been working on. I don't really have any finished objects. I've been plugging away at some projects, but everything just kind of feels like it's moving along a little slowly, you know? So yeah, let's just go ahead and talk about it. No finished objects, but I will tell you what I'm wearing. This is the sweater hug from Skein Knits. I'm using a new light today and I'm just noticing like shadows because there's like almost no natural light. It's really, really dark today. So it's a little chiaroscuro here. That's all right. Anyway, the yarn I used is La Bien Amie in, I think it's just the DK base is all it's called, maybe. It's 100% superwash merino and it is in the colorway Grello, which is lovely. Oops. I'll try and move a little bit. It's got this nice little split hem on the side and it's just very cozy, and I love the long ribbing on the cuffs and on the body and on the neck. It is very, very cozy. It's very soft. It is a sweater hug. Yeah, so that's what I've been wearing. That's what I am wearing. What have I been knitting on? Not the things I'm supposed to be knitting on. Last time I told you about the test knit that I was working on, which is the Joni pullover by Flossy Knits, and I had not finished. I still have one sleeve to go. I still had one sleeve to go, and I still have one sleeve to go. I have not touched it. I don't know. It's just, I'm in a weird spot with that project. So it's maybe in a little bit of a timeout for now. So I'm working on some other things. So I will show them to you. First thing I've been working on, what I've really been enjoying, I have here in my Icelandic Hand Knitting Society bag. It's in English on one side and Icelandic on the other. Very cute. Anyway, they give you the bag whenever you buy yarn there, which is nice. So more bags. Yeah. I have been working on the Mountain Doodle cowl from Pacific Knit Co., which is a really fun color work project. So this is going to be, I'm going to do just like one time wraparound. So I probably need another maybe 4 inches, and then I'll graft it together. So it'll just be a big snuggly stand-up thing. Yeah, so Pacific Knit Co., I've talked about this pattern before because I did cast it on one time before. I unraveled that and started over because I just wasn't happy with the circumference. It was kind of annoying to knit on. And this is a lot easier to knit on. So I have them on 16-inch circulars. I am using size US 5, which is 3.75 millimeter. And I am just being all sorts of scrappy with this thing. And these are all natural dye scraps that I have just lying around. The only thing that's not naturally dyed is I have some just plain white that I've mixed in a couple of times. That's obviously not dyed. But everything else is just scraps I have. I've got a big bag of scraps. The bag is filled with all of my scraps. So the thing with the Doodle series that Pacific Knit Co. does is it's basically like a whole collection of colorwork charts that are around a certain theme. And they're all within the same stitch count of each other, so they're all interchangeable. So you can go through, and it's sort of like a choose your own adventure situation where you just pick the next chart, whichever one you feel like. So yeah, I've just been picking at random and picking colors at random for the next. So yeah, so this is it so far. I'm really, really, really enjoying knitting this. Very much instant gratification. It doesn't take that long to knit a little, especially with these little Puries, that doesn't take very long to knit at all. Like I can do that in, 45 minutes or something. One of these, maybe an hour. I did this whole section whenever I was on a virtual knit night earlier today. So that took probably like an hour and a bit. And I was chatting, So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this. As soon as it's done, I kind of want to cast out another one. Just keep doing it. Which is good because I have a project in the wings that I am going to use this as a base for. Yeah, I mentioned this a few times ago that I had been out at my local pub. I had had a couple of pints and a friend came up and said, "Oh, I love your knitting so much. Would you knit my dog a sweater?" And I said, "Of course I will." Because I was a couple in. Yeah, so I finally met said dog the other day, and she's a portly little pit bull, maybe not so little. She's a little sausage girl. She's not. But she also has 3 legs, so I'm like a softie. She's missing one front leg, so it's like, okay, of course you need a custom sweater for your 3-legged dog. Of course you do. I had a 3-legged dog when I was growing up because the dog had gotten cancer and we amputated one of the legs. And this is the same thing that happened with this dog. So I'm like, I have a little extra soft spot. So my theory is I'm going to self-draft a 3-legged dog sweater and I'm going to use these charts. I took measurements, so I haven't totally figured it out yet, but cast on at the neck, go down, do my little doggy raglan increases. I'm gonna set in 1 steek for the 1 leg. I'm gonna need to double check which side that leg is on so I don't mess that up. And then I will knit down the little sausage tube, and then add in another steek to go along the belly because I'm gonna want to have the back of the sweater longer than the belly of the sweater because it's a dog and that's the way dogs are shaped. So I'll need to add in another steek and do some decreases there going down like the belly towards the back that I can then cut open and fold back. And I'm just gonna do charts and scraps for the dog too. And that's gonna be so fun. Oh God, sorry. I'm getting all excited. I'm just like throwing things down and hitting the table. So it's gonna have to have 2 steeks in it. I'm gonna have to do a lot of maths. I'm a little bit worried since I'm gonna choose for it to be a scrappy project about gauge. But this is all sorts of different weights. This is fingering held double. This is DK. This is worsted, all mixed together. It's superwash like sock yarns. It's woolly rustic yarns that are meant for color work. It's, worsted spun, kind of like more generic, non-superwash, but not woolen. Do you know what I mean? So it's all over the place. And I really only notice a huge difference in the gauge on this section with these trees. This is the only one where it seems like the gauge is really getting off from itself. You can see that one kind of pulls in, right? And that's the only one that I used both superwash sock yarns with. And they're held double, but they're pretty thin sock yarns, and superwash tends to not be the best for color work, so it's a little bit tighter than the rest of it. But I'm kind of thinking that it's relatively consistent, so I can use this as a gauge swatch for the dog sweater. and just continue being scrappy on size 5? Does that sound like it will work, you guys? Because it does seem pretty even, right? There's not a lot of difference except for that one section, and that's because it's both superwash, like thin superwash yarns. So yeah. That's the theory anyway. So hopefully my plan is to finish this up. Gosh, probably tonight, honestly. It's so gross outside. I'm gonna start a fire after I'm done with this because it's getting a little bit chilly in the house. And it's getting late enough in the afternoon that I know the sun is not gonna come out. My house is passive solar, so if the sun comes out, like it warms up real fast and there's no point in making a fire. We're getting a visitor. Come here. Come on, Coney. Oh, say hi to everybody. Hi, Conan. Oh, Conan got stuck outside in the hailstorm earlier. But he has some sort of little hidey spot because whenever the hail stopped, he came back and he was totally dry. So he found a good little space. Oh, here, you're just gonna jingle jangle. So let me take that off. There we go. Okay. So I really just have a couple more inches to go on this. So I think I can do maybe 2, like maybe another small puri and 2 of the medium charts or something. And that'll be long enough. Oh, it's getting stuck on my bun. Oh no. Trapped. And then I can graft it together and block it and then use that as my swatch for the dog sweater, and I can cast on the dog sweater and use the same charts and do a bunch of crazy math and hope that it works because I'm steeking it and then I'm going to cut it open and it's probably not going to fit. Oh, buddy. Oh, yeah. So that is my color work fun right now. I had also mentioned this other project in passing at some point. I agreed to make a hat for a friend who handed me a bunch of this. It is churro alpaca roving, right? It's roving, or it's top when it's like this. I think it's roving. Yeah, because it's almost like pencil roving. I'm just honestly spinning straight off of this because it's pretty thin already. Anyway, so I got a bunch of this, and a hat was requested to be naturally dyed. And I was like, but it's so pretty, like the natural as well. It's got a lot of nice variation in it. The alpaca, I think, is the little bits of the black that you can see in there. So there's not that much alpaca. It's mostly churro, which is a very, very rustic yarn. It's meant for outerwear. It's meant for rugs. It's meant for protection from the wind and the rain. It's like Icelandic plus is kind of how I've been thinking about it. So I decided to keep half of it natural and dye half of it up in a bunch of different colors. And I'm going to do a colorwork hat. But since this is so hairy, is this showing up? Like how much hair is like sticking out from this yarn? What did I just do? Here we go. There we go. You can see like how hairy it is. It's a woolen prep and I'm doing woolen long draw drafting as well. So there's quite a lot of hair sticking out. Like you're not going to want to wear that like right up on your skin. Like there's some serious prickle factor there. So I'm also going to spin up some merino and make a lining because I'm extra. Yeah, so I've been spinning up the natural. I have this bobbin done and I have another bobbin that is almost done. Oh, It's so squishy because it's woolen prep and woolen spun. There's so much air in here. Look how much that compresses. Yeah, and churro is quite a long staple. Alpaca as well. So I'm not putting very much twist in this at all. Just trying to pull out a little bit. I am spinning on the lowest ratio that I have. So here's like a staple length. It's probably, 3 inches, 3 to 4 inches. Yeah. So I'm not putting much twist in the yarn at all. I think I'm going to end up doing a 2-ply. I was going to do a 3-ply, but that's just going to be too much work and it'll make a really thick yarn. And if I'm going to do a lining and I'm going to do color work, I think I'm going to stick with a 2-ply. And this already is quite thick in spots. It's definitely not super, super consistent. I am not the best or most experienced long draw spinner or spinner in general. But I think this as a 2-ply, and then I'm going to take the dyed wool, which I have some here. I still have a few more colors to go. I have some more that is, more that is mordanted, but here's some that I did in indigo. There's 3 different shades of indigo in here. So that's gonna be fun. Woo! I have some here that was dyed with chamisa. Yes, I know. I was like, was this sagebrush or chamisa? This is chamisa. It's so bright. Sagebrush doesn't quite get this bright. Also known as rabbit brush. You'll see that referred to in a lot of the dye books and things. Yeah, so we've got some fun colors going already. And I have some here that I dyed in Hollyhock Exhaust Bath. It's not quite picking it up. It's greener in person, more of a blue-green. Yeah, so I've got some good colors going so far. I'm also going to do some dye with marigold, maybe onion skin as well, because I'm kind of thinking like sunset gradient, if that makes any sense, to like a deep dark sky. That's my inspiration anyhow. And then I'm going to have to somehow figure out how to line all of this up as a 2-ply fractal. So I'm going to need to figure out some sort of color repeat, because this wasn't dyed in a pan, right? Like I just have chunks of colors. Oh, Colin, you do not want to go outside. It's practically snowing, buddy. So yeah, I'm going to need to like pull some lengths, do some weights, and say I'm going to do the yellow for, 1 ounce or a 1/2 ounce, and then move into another color, and then move into another color, and then break that down to double time for the 2nd ply, if that makes sense. Because normally with a fractal spin, you'll have a braid and you'll just split the braid down the middle, and you'll have the 2 halves of the braids for your 2 plies. And the 2nd half, then you split it again. So that color repeat is going to happen faster whenever you spin it, because then you'll go through 2 sets of the color repeat, instead of just the 1 set that the first ply is doing, which makes this cool gradient stripy effect. Which, whenever I was trying to ask said friend about like the style that he wanted, he said he saw something that was knitted and it looked like it was tie-dyed within the yarn. And I was like, I bet that was a fractal spun something. That's kind of what that sounds like to me. So yeah. So that's the theory for all of the dyed yarn. It's not yarn yet. It's just wool, the dyed wool. And then I'll need to spin that up and the lining, and then I have to knit the hat. And I've got a little bit extra. There's blue. Blue was in my mouth. Can you see it? No, I don't think so. Yeah, so those are two projects that I'm like definitely making up as I go along. I do have a pattern picked out for the hat. I'm going to do the Cherry Fizz hat. I have knit this once before, and it's a nice color work. I think it's worsted or Aran, written for worsted or Aran, which, you know, 2-ply with this should be hitting about there. And yeah, so those are my two like priority projects right now. I want to get those done and out the door because I have committed to people. I also had the thought yesterday, oh, I should knit socks for people for Christmas. Yeah. So I think I might have just subconsciously committed to myself to knit 2 pairs of socks before Christmas for other people, which means I need to wind up some yarn. And I might need to buy some more sock needles. Because I still have a lot of sock whips myself. One of which I have finally started working on again. This has been like not on the podcast in a very, very long time. But I hit the point a few weeks ago when I didn't have any projects that were very portable or easy to chat with, and I needed something that I could take to my knit group. So I pulled out these socks that I hadn't touched in at least 6 months because I had made a mistake in the cable somewhere. And I just set them down for 6 months. So then I came back to it at my knitting group and I was like, okay, I have to figure out what I did wrong. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, I think, with this light. What happens if I turn it off? This will be weird. Ooh, there, you can see the cables better though. Yeah, look at that. Nice. So this is the second sock. All the way. Light. These are the Oktoberfest socks from Susan Dittrich. It's a free pattern. Very classic, you know, German cable, which apparently the German style cable has a little pretzel in it. I never realized, but this was pointed out to me by someone in my knit group who used to live in Germany. Can you see it? A little pretzel. Isn't that cute? Yeah. So I've been working on these for years at this point. I'm not a sock knitter generally. I'm definitely not a patterned sock knitter. I'm starting to do more textured socks because vanilla socks are finally starting to be a little bit boring to me. But this was definitely like a big ask of myself. So I'm heading into the 3rd year of knitting these. I keep trying to get them ready for Oktoberfest, and Oktoberfests keep coming. So these will be done by next September. That's the goal. So yeah, I picked these back up and I was somewhere in the leg up in here. So I have finished knitting down the leg. I have knit my incorrect Eye of Partridge heel because I did it incorrectly on the first sock and I was like halfway through and I realized that is not what the instructions are telling me to do. And you see all the little lines there. So I was knitting it like a linen stitch and it's not supposed to be like that. So I just am knitting it like a linen stitch on the second sock too, so that they match. And I have turned my heel. I have picked up all my stitches on the side. So now I am ready to start decreasing and knitting the foot. And I have, whoops, 10 months to do that in. Will I make it? Will I make it? Did not make it with the Joni sweater. Ooh, I'm real bad at deadlines, y'all. Real bad. Crafty deadlines are not my forte. Okay. Yeah, so I need to knit on a lot of socks, I guess. So I need to wind up some yarn. Start doing that. I feel like this was a pretty quick episode. I don't know. I also feel like I've been very blabbery and talkative today, just to myself. Like even before I sat down to podcast, I just kept rambling to myself, walking around the house. So I don't know. Maybe I've been talking for an hour. Maybe it's been 20 minutes. It feels like 20 minutes. Who knows? So anyway, I am going to prioritize these projects that I have committed to other people, and I'm going to get those done and out of the way, and then I'm going to go back to all of my selfish crafting because I have so much selfish crafting. So much. I need to get these gifts out the door. So thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to go out on my porch and chop a little kindling and get a little fire going now and sit down on the couch and either finish my spin or finish my cowl. I hope you all are having happy crafting and being nice and cozy if you're up on the north side of the planet, and you're enjoying sunshine and little sprouts if you're down on the south side. All right, guys. Love you.